Hey guys, it's David with Cars and Code. This video is a continuation of previous videos, so if you haven't seen those, click the link below and watch those first. So in this video, we're going to be adding some finishing touches and some cleanup to our application. So the first thing we're going to do is go through and fix all of the namespaces, because we've created new folders and the files don't match the namespaces for the folder structure yet. So let's start and do that. Okay, now that we have our namespaces fixed, let's add a splash screen. So the first thing we're going to do is create an XML drawable in the Android project. That's going to be the background image for when our app appears. So we're going to come to our resources drawable folder, and we're going to add a new XML file. And we'll call it background splash.xml. Down here we're going to create a layer list with a background of white and a bitmap of our logo in the center. Okay, now before we finish this, we're going to have to actually go and add our logo PNG file to our drawable here. So I'm going to go and import those into our project. We'll add one for XXHDPI, XHDPI, and HDPI. So now we have that logo, we can add it into our background drawable. Now that we finish this background drawable, let's make a theme for it, so we can set the theme on a splash activity to be this for the background, the window background. We're going to add a new style and we'll call it splash theme, and we're going to set the window background to our drawable that we just created. Now that we've got the theme, let's go and actually create the splash activity. Now we're going to have to mark this as an activity, and we're going to mark it as our main launcher, so the app knows to launch this activity first, and that means we're going to have to go back to our main activity and mark that as not being the main launcher. Now in this activity, all we're going to do is on the onCreate method, we're going to launch into our main activity. Now that we've done that, let's go into our main activity and set that as not being the main launcher. Okay, now we've got the splash screen working, so we can run it and we can see the splash screen run. And here we can see the splash screen appears. So perfect. And the last thing we're going to do is clean up our main view model. And the first thing we're going to do is get rid of all of these floats, these three floats, and we're going to turn them into that vector3 object just so it's a little bit easier to read. Now what we're going to do for the last vectors is we're going to create a queue of them, of about 5 of them, so we can take the average of the last 5 vectors. That way we don't get as much jitteriness. We're going to create a constant integer to be the number of vectors we want to smooth over. We're going to check if the number of vectors in our queue is greater than the number of vectors we want to smooth over, and if it is, then we're going to dequeue one from the queue. And then we're going to enqueue the current acceleration. Now we're going to create a method that takes this queue of vectors we have and computes the average vector from those vectors. Okay, now we're going to get our actual acceleration from using this method. Okay, and now we just have to convert a gravity vector, these 3 floats, back into a vector 3. And the last thing we have to do is instantiate our queue in the constructor. Once we've done this, we can run it and see how much more smooth it is. Now when I'm holding in my hands, it's much more smooth and doesn't jitter around as much as it did before. Now it is a little bit jittery, so we could try to fix that, but I think this is good enough as it is. So thanks for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.